Hi guys, we are back with another live, which you know is my very favorite time of the week. And today we got to talk about these markets that are making new highs and then the Fed pivot. How interesting is that? So we're going to just dive right in, but make sure you hit that like button on your way in and make sure to subscribe, hit that bell. We'll let you know when we're going live. So let's go to the Wall Street whiplash schools traders on fragile modern markets. There have been so many changes that have come about in these markets, like the 24-hour rule now. We would characterize the extreme market ups and downs over the past couple of weeks as the latest illustration of how markets have become inherently more fragile in the past 15 years. Yes, they are, and yet they're at all-time highs. Does this seem logical to you when they are the most overvalued markets that have ever lived, even higher than 1929? So we can see how this whipsawing and Wall Street greed returns, because logic and truth are irrelevant to Wall Street. If you are looking for true, it's just like with the gold and the silver, right? If you are looking for real market-based value, you need to look elsewhere. You need to look in the physical-only markets, because Wall Street has become a complete trading environment. And it's significant that you understand this, because it's all about greed until it isn't, because the rest of it, besides the greed, is the risk transfer, converting it to you. And so we're looking at the market fragility is at a record amongst single stocks. And we're looking at all of the tech stocks and that tech stock bubble. And go back to 99 with that NASDAQ bubble and how many years it took to recoup. And they're doing the same thing, because there's always something hot that's going to go in that inspires you to buy. But it is at the single highest level. And this herding in the single stocks works well on the way up. And what happens on the way up? Wall Street pulls more equity out and creates a higher level of leverage, which is a higher level of risk. And why does this matter to you? Because you might have your wealth in the stock market inside of a 401k or an IRA. And in fact, I do plan on doing a video very shortly on the real cost of you to the 401k and IRAs, because these costs are hidden, but you're paying them. And the cost to even hold this garbage is well hidden from you, because when the stock market goes up, you're seeing that forced trend, that nominal trend, like this $10 trillion Zimbabwe note. Do not be blinded by numbers. Understand the true value. Average magnitude of fragility events jumps to the highest ever. Do you think you're not impacted by that? You are, when the market really recognizes it. But my question is this the melt up that I've been waiting for? Because when people understand what's really happening to this stuff, they're looking for a way out. And what they do is they go into the markets, because we've been trained to think that that's all the options are, but they're not. You always, well, I can't tell you what to do, but for me, I always want to hold the lion's share of my wealth in an undervalued asset that is in a long-term positive trend. How do you know something's in a long-term positive trend? You see a series of higher and higher lows. And here's a guarantee, and I can't give you many, but I can tell you for an absolute fact, if you continuously get higher and higher lows, you will get higher highs. That's your positive trend. What do these markets hide? The true trend, which is the purchasing power value. The purchasing power value of this stuff, which they can create just by creating more debt. And what does that additional debt do? it makes the markets even that much more fragile. It puts us inside of a doom loop. And then what happens? Wow, traders need the go sign in Jackson Hole to keep stocks rallying. And they got it. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. But the tone, more than words, is key to maintaining the sentiment. Because as Henry Kissinger said years and years ago, anybody that's my age knows who he was, but he used to be the Treasury. What did he do? Isn't this great? But I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I'm having a little bit of a brain problem here. But he did go and create the petrodollar. And what he says is, it's not what's true that counts. It's what is perceived to be true that counts. So that FOMO, the fear of missing out, is huge for people because all they're seeing are these numbers going up and up and up, when in reality what's really happening is the value of the dollar is going down and down and down. And nobody's ever been able to answer for me, what happens when you get to zero? And how much longer will the fantasy live? A bit longer or tomorrow? And that's the thing. People think they're always going to know like 1 second before the market implodes and you're going to have all this time to get out and do whatever it is that you need to do to be prepared for what we're going through now. How many times will you ignore the warnings? Because I suggest to you that we've been getting so many warnings. You know, the market meltdown, 3 weeks ago? Do you think that those issues have been resolved? Because they have not. But hey, Powell comes out and says the time has come for the Fed to have a policy adjustment. Meaning the time has come to cut rates. And what does that mean? They're dropping the rates so they can do more of this. That means more debt. And the problem is we've already had a structural shift in the debt markets. So more debt is not going to help you. And actually, more debt hasn't really helped you since 97. So be afraid and take this as a warning. Fed chief more confident inflation on sustainable path to 2%. Understand that is simply the rate and speed of the inflation. But the goal always has been since 1913 to have this stuff buy you less and less and less. And what's the difference between this and this monopoly money? You accept this for your wages. You accept this to use as a tool of barter, and you accept this to try and save for the future. But how in the world can you save for the future when they are intentionally devaluing all of the money that's out there? They force you out on the risk spectrum. But the Fed says that they welcome further cooling, says Fed doesn't seek or welcome further cooling in the labor market. So, okay, we have enough jobs that are lost because after all, the data was hiding the truth. Shocker! Can you believe that they would actually lie to us? And if you can't believe that, there is a bridge in Brooklyn I'd love to sell you. No, I wouldn't do that because I couldn't in good conscience be that dishonest. But I think it's actually now tilting more fully towards defending the expansion against recession. Let me tell you how easy this makes it. There is only one way to fight a recession or deflation, and that's with more inflation, and that's what they're telling you. And by the way, this is happening in many places around the world, and I have to do a video on the synchronized movement and then the desynchronized movement and now how they're trying to get it synchronized again. But that's not going to make this go on forever, nor is it their intention for this to go on forever. They need it to go on long enough to transfer as much risk as possible from the few, from the elites, from those that have been chosen to win, to the many, to the public, to the masses. that have been chosen to lose. You want to be on the winning side? You position into physical gold and silver. And beyond that, you come together in community, locally, to create security in your food, water, energy, security itself, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. We have to come together. Time is running out. But on a global basis, how about that quiet revolution? Just by repositioning your fiat money garbage into sound money strategy, along with the food and the water and everything else. Think back to what happened in March and April of 2020 when the grocery store shelves first went barren. Are you prepared for that to happen again? Because how much notice did you get then? We did get a level of notice because that's when I put this home studio together. But I'm telling you, at what point will you take heed and get into position? So make sure you click that link below to schedule a time to meet with one of our strategy specialists. And if you don't know what your goals are, and even if you do, we're going to help fine tune and define those goals so that whatever it is that you do actually supports what you're trying to accomplish. Because our goal, truthfully, in the whole mantra piece is to meet you where you are and help you get to where you want to go. And to do that as soundly as possible. Because what these low interest rates really mean are more debt, more defaults, more crisis, more inflation, and less and less and less for you, unless you are in a position to take advantage of what's happening. And that means that what you have to do is hold your purchasing power intact. Will those severely overvalued markets do that? Maybe on a short-term basis, but definitely not on a long-term basis. Because all you can do is convert them into this stuff. That's all you can do. And this stuff is losing value by design and has been. Officially, we have 3 cents left. And that continues to go down and down and down. And we only have 3 cents left because the public still has confidence. Remember, it's not what's true that matters. It is what is perceived to be true that matters. Yeah, it is what is perceived to be true that matters because that's what puts you in a position for them to rob you of your wealth. Don't believe them. Do what they're doing, right? They're buying gold hand over fist. This just came in this morning. Gold bulls delight in Jackson Hole as Powell juices the price rally. Gold's record-setting rally above 2,500 an ounce looks to have further to run. As the Federal Reserve prepares to chop rates. Traditional drivers such as lower yield return and Western investors pile back in. Yes, they do. And we're seeing this not just with Western investors, but certainly with Eastern investors too, in Russia, in China, in South Korea, everywhere in the world. We are all at the beginnings of a modern day gold rush. You want to be in it at the beginning. Gold and silver remain severely undervalued. But this is also what I wanted to show you because gold is doing its job during an equity sell-off like we saw 3 weeks ago by outperforming everything else. This is the manipulated spot price, for goodness sakes, and it's outperforming the S&P 500, Treasuries, NASDAQ 100. What do you want, right? Give me something that I can hold that runs no counterparty risk in a sea where everything is counterparty risk. Where we are in a recession, even though they don't want you to realize that, some of you are experiencing it and you know, right? So what do you want to do? There's only one way to fight a recession: inflation. So, they've slowed inflation down enough, even though the public doesn't realize it. And they say, why doesn't the public recognize that we've slowed down this inflation? Because the things that you or I have to buy on a daily basis have not come down. It's the speed at which they go up. You want to protect that? You do gold. You do silver. That's how you protect it. And we've got some videos coming out. I'm not quite sure when, but it's important enough that I want Adam and Arthur to spend enough time on it to make it as good as possible so that you can see how they make the transition from one fiat money into the next iteration. If we come together and we position into gold and silver, it's not going to be easy for them to do. We can, perhaps if we get enough people participating, we can have a seat at the table. And what that means to me is that I want a voice in the new monetary system. And not just me, but for everybody. I want a much, much, much more fair system. Because this system that we're in has chosen the winners and the losers. And the only way that we can have a seat at the table is to say, nope, you do not have control over us. This is invisible and in your possession. And now I will go ahead and take questions. Oh, I'm not going to look because he's scrolling. Okay. Goldens and Coons asks, Lynette, what is your prediction with the used car market and the new car market? Well, that is a great question, and I'm going to have to take a little bit more look at it because I know that used cars are going up and up and up. And I actually know that because Adam and Arthur were talking to me, and also Chandelier was talking to me before we went on. So Goldens and Coons, can we wait until the next meeting? And I will take a look at that.
Absolutely. We'll have that answered for you next live, okay?
Okay. Yeah, because I don't want to, I really don't want to just speak off the top of my head when I really don't know the answer. And James, although I do have the perfect person to go to get some of these answers, and that's Megan with her husband, Robert. And you know Megan because she used to, well, some of you may know Megan because she used to work for me. And they have an auto body shop, so they know all about that. I'll be doing some research and also talking to them, and I'll come back to you on that answer. And James Dandy asks, do you see the GNS, so I'm thinking the gold and silver spot, coming down after Jerome Powell's official we're cutting announcement? No, actually, I see them going up more, and that's basically what they're saying because in theory, okay, here's the theory. Why would you want gold and silver that do not pay you interest rates when you can get treasuries or other debt instruments that actually do pay interest? So there's the theory that treasuries are much better because it pays. Well, gold and silver don't have to pay interest because they don't run any counterparty risk and they maintain your purchasing power over time. Whereas with Jerome Powell cutting the interest rates to, what will that do? Well, let's take a look at this because there are a number of different reasons for them cutting the rates. This is what I'm looking for. Oops. Yeah. I'm looking for this. Okay. Here are interest rates. This is the market value of the debt, right? And that's all debt. So it's mortgages as well as bonds, etc. And we already know that we have a wall of debt that is hitting. And we also know that defaults are rising at a very, very rapid rate. And we also know that unemployment is much higher than they've been telling us over the last months, right? So that means that they get to call an official recession, but we're already there. All right. So interest rates, when they drop the interest rates, the market value of the debt goes up. That can help a lot of the banks that are so underwater. If there is a run on the banks, that means that the banks could fail. And we're even talking about large ones like JP Morgan Chase, etc. Now, they're going to go stop, right? So your money's gonna be stuck in there, and we know they have the power to do that. But the other thing is, if interest rates are going down, and this is as it refers to the gold and the silver, the cost to hold it, well, it remains the same. If you have it in, say, a safe deposit box in a bank, which is not my personal preference, but may be the only option, my personal preference is a private vault, right? Because they'll be holding a lot more things, but it minimizes the cost to hold. And of course, you can also hold it in your home, which then eliminates that cost. You would just have to get it set up so that it is extremely invisible and extremely safe. So actually, by dropping the rates, the lower the rates are, the higher we are more likely to see the spot market goes. Where you see my hesitancy is that Wall Street is in cahoots with the central banks to keep the true value of gold and silver suppressed, to keep you away from it. It's perception management. And I will never be waiting for Wall Street to tell me the true value of gold or silver. I will be waiting until all confidence is lost. And then in order to regain that confidence, which is why I'm looking so hard at Zimbabwe, I have an update for you on that, by the way, because they look like they're doing better, but because you can't convert the gold. You can't take the currency, the new Zimbabwe gold, and convert it into the physical metal. So there are a lot of interesting things, and I don't want to go off on a tangent. But no, the lower he pushes the interest rates to save the corporations and to save the banking sector, the more than likely higher spot gold and spot silver will go. But where you're going to maximize your benefit is when they do those overnight revaluations. And there's a whole strategy around that because we cannot get out of the way, but we can take advantage of it. Absolutely. And Deja Vu asked, B of A is promoting gold. Your thoughts? Lots of institutional investors were recently, I think the World Gold Council did a survey, and 80%, if I remember these numbers accurately, and maybe I just did a video on that not that long ago, Adam. Maybe we can pull that link and put it in the bottom. And I'm pretty sure that 80% of regular investors and institutional investors have been recommending gold in some way. Why? Well, maybe because they know it's going higher in terms of spot, but also you should always do what the smartest guys in the room on any given topic are doing for themselves. Who knows more about what they're doing to this stuff than the central banks? Why do you think they're buying more gold than they ever have in history? Are they buying gold ETFs? Nope. They're buying the physical gold. And once they buy the gold, it's not coming back on the market. So, I mean, truthfully, yeah. With Bank of America, that is not a big surprise because most entities out there now are recommending gold and silver. And Richie Luxury asks, will you be doing any shows with our friend Gerald Celente? I love Gerald, and yes, I will be doing more shows with him. I absolutely adore him. And he doesn't know this yet, but when we are fully in our office, so this is a little bit heads up. They haven't quite started the TA yet, or TI, whatever it is. They haven't started that just yet, but everything is emptied out, so I'm thinking like any day. Once we have that complete, then we're gonna do a big open house. We'll probably schedule for 8 to 10 months out. So I'll keep you posted on that. And I was actually gonna invite Gerald to come out. And so if you come in for that, you can meet him live. So I'm very excited about that. I can't wait. And we'll give you lots and lots of notice so you can plan your trip to be out here. And Ron Hubbard asks, Hi, Lynette. So proud. Oh, thank you. So proud of you that you took your 20 plus years of experience at ITM and started your own company. You're going to blow them away. Okay, so I'm going to say this. Thank you very much. And I am also proud that we did it. We had to do it because there are many reasons. But I still look at them as being part of the community, because the more people out there that are working to open up the public's eyes and build that knowledge base and build that community is still good for everyone. And I know that together, including everyone at ITM, and you guys know, Daniela and I have a very close relationship. I love her. I have so much respect for her. So I just kind of view it as a way for us all to reach more people, grow this community, and that helps everyone and generations to come. And Deja Vu asks, will gold top off like real estate eventually based on credible threats? Let me read that again. Will it top off like real estate? Well, first of all, okay, the way all tangible assets work, so this would also be in real estate, is they go from undervaluation to, I'm going to move this down, go from undervaluation to fair valuation to overvaluation to fair valuation. It's like a constant infinity loop. Will that happen with gold? Of course that is going to happen with gold. The difference is that real estate is extremely overvalued, and central banks, because it's so much a part of the global economy, that central banks have targeted that to inflate. And what are we seeing now? We're seeing generally, this isn't true in every place, but generally we're seeing real estate markets hit new highs. I'm going to be talking more about that next week. However, gold is severely undervalued to its fundamental value. So that's the difference between the two. That and the fact that part of the strategy is to buy something that is severely undervalued like gold is now, and avoid, I mean, you got to have a place to live, so, and make your last stand. But you have real estate that is severely overvalued. That's going to flip-flop. And then because you've held your purchasing power, you're going to be able to pay off any fixed rate debt, so your own mortgage, etc. But you're also going to be able to convert into income producing assets when they are undervalued. This is not rocket science. It is just a repetition of history and logic. That's all. So yes, eventually you will see that flip-flop. And based on credible threats, I'm not really sure what you mean by credible threats, because the threats like geopolitical threats and what's happening around the world and how much more charged that is right now than it was even last week, you know, and all of the proxy wars that are happening around the world. And frankly, the wars that are happening in cyberspace that we can't see. And remember, they need you to be scared, so that matters a lot to them. But in any of those kinds of threats of the loss of the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currencies, threats of the severely overvalued stock and bond markets, threats to the default rates going up, threats globally, yeah, gold works, physical gold. That's why the central banks are buying it. That's also why you need to be buying it too. And Marianne Kinzel asks, says, take Yellen's place, Lynette. You know, I often wonder, I think that some people have good intentions when they first get into politics. And I don't know what the future holds exactly for me, but I know that I was put on this planet to translate this financial noise and to lead by example. yelling, I don't want to take her, please. Don't make me, please. Please don't make me. But I will do whatever it is. Look, here's my promise, and this has always been the promise to the universe, the promise to everything. I will show up and I will do the work. That's what I can guarantee you. That's my promise, and whatever it is that I'm guided to do, I will do, but I really hope it's not that. And Alan Greenspan, hey, Alan, can we sit down and have a conversation? Because my mom always used to say to me, but Lynn, don't you think Alan Greenspan is smarter than you? Don't you think he's smarter? And the answer is yes, I do think he's smarter than me, and he certainly had a much bigger inside track. I have no inside track at all other than reading what they're publishing and watching their behavior and listening to their comments and understanding their gobbledygook. You know, I mean, they, udke, eBay, eking spe, igpe, atenlay. And if they spoke Pid Latin, then yes, I can absolutely understand them. But Alan Greenspan says grow gardens. Yes, absolutely, 100%. The breakfast I had this morning, there were only 2 things on there that did not come from my property right here. One was the toast that I had, but eventually we'll be growing grain up in the bug out. And the other were the tomatoes because it's not tomato season. But everything else was from this property. I love that. And Adam, what do you mean 3 cents left? Oh, so that's you.
That's me.
Okay. So in the Federal Reserve Education Department, so FRED, and what you do is in the search bar, you put purchasing power of the consumer dollar. And when you do, what you see is back in 1913, a dollar bought a dollar's worth of goods. Today, 3 cents is all you've got out of that original dollar's worth of purchasing power. Can you tell me what you can buy for 3 cents? Nothing. So that's what I mean. That's officially because that's the Federal Reserve telling you, well, yes, we've already robbed you of 97% of your purchasing power. We're going to be taking more because, as he said, it's time to change their policy pivot and drop those rates down. And what that really means is we need more inflation. Okay, what that really means is there is too much value left in this. That's how you know that's a negative trend. Because they're sitting there, the central banks are telling you, when they want more inflation, they're telling you, this stuff is overvalued and we're gonna take it down. This is undervalued and it's going to go up in terms of these. Adam asked me earlier, and I said we really should, when you guys ask me these questions before we start to film, we really need to immediately hit the record button. Because what were you asking me before? Do you remember before we came on?
Actually, Arthur was asking the question, if I remember correctly. You were asking about, what was it? It wasn't pre-33. You were asking about, was it bars? What were you asking about?
No, he wasn't asking. They don't even remember what they were.
Yeah, but I
Let's
do.
see,
I
what
actually
were
have
you asking?
I actually have a follow-up question though with the purchasing power because have we ever seen it? And maybe it's a dumb question, but have we ever seen it where we're gaining purchasing power, where we've gained purchasing power back, if you will?
Oh my gosh. Actually, there were 2 key times when it looked like it. And can I pull up? Can we share a screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Let me get out of here. Okay. And I am going to go to.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oops.
Do you think that we've, had a time where we're gaining back purchasing power? Hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And I'm going to do. Okay. FRED. Purchasing power of the consumer dollar. Okay, here we go. You ready? Yep. Okay. Now here is the overall chart. Can you, it's not showing up there.
I can't tell if it's going to show up properly. Let's see. I didn't think so. So it's set right now to your PowerPoints.
Do we, okay, all right, wait.
Yep.
Let me do a print screen. And I'll set it up to that PowerPoint that I just was at. Let me do this. You had to ask me this, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did.
That's okay. Control V. Come on. Okay, there's that. But I really wish that, is there some way, because I really would rather do it directly from this, because that way I can actually show them. Any way to do that?
There
No?
is a way, but we don't have it set up right
You don't have it set up. Okay, so maybe next time we will have it set up the right way.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Next time I'll have it so that we can kind of share your screen. You can take the process of the Google search, Fred website, and then purchasing power index is what we're looking for.
Okay. So let me just, but I still want to show them this to answer that question, okay? Okay, so let me just print screen here. So this isn't quite the way I would have preferred to show it to you, but it'll work. So let me just insert one more. Okay. Now I will go on to slideshow and I will go down to those two. All right. So what you're looking at here is the purchasing power of the consumer dollar. And if you, let me grab a laser. All right. So if you just move the decimal point 2 places, there's your dollar and you can see it way up there. Now, you can see here that it did go up, but the period of time that I really want to focus on is right here, 1930 to 1933. And you see how much the purchasing power went up on the consumer dollar? But I want you to think about your history books. Did you ever read anywhere how it got so much better for people during the Depression between 1929 and 1933? That would be a no. But what I also want to point out is even during that period of time, and many of you might remember my horse pictures I used to have behind me, and there was Seabiscuit. And so there are always people that have money. Even if 90% of the population is in abject poverty, I didn't say 100%, because wealth never disappears, it just shifts location. So between 1929 and 1933, it appeared as if the purchasing power went up. But it really didn't. That was just a phenomenon, right? To make it appear that it got better, but it really didn't. The other place, which many of you might actually remember, goes back to 2008. And you see how we've got a little bump up in purchasing power here? But that was also during the period of time, and you might remember this, when every time you went to the grocery store, prices were noticeably higher. So actually what makes it appear that purchasing power went up was that the default rates, that debt disappeared. So it just creates this phenomenon that on a graph makes it look like it's going up, but in reality, it's getting worse for most people. Since this goes from 2008 all the way down, you can see this was just, this data was pulled on the 14th of August. That's the most current one. And you can certainly see that it has continually gone down. And not only that, but it's gone down at a much faster rate since 2020, right? When they did, I think I'm out of this. Yeah, they're both. Got to make sure that those bills are pushed straight so that it works. But what they do is constantly, and that's what's happening right now. I'm actually really glad that you brought this up, because basically what Powell is saying is we need more of this. We need the value of the dollar to go down more. That's what happens when you drop rates. That encourages borrowing and spending, and it devalues what is already out there until eventually you lose confidence. That's what's going to make the difference. It's when you, the public, go, you know what? This is garbage. I'm not working for this anymore. I'm not trying to save this anymore. That's why you've got to have sound money. Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to the questions, and I'm just going to push this down. ATM asks, when SHTF, will gold and silver drop dramatically? Okay, so what we always see is that when there is a stock market rout, right, the stock market goes down, since so much of what's in there is bought on leverage, in other words, borrowed to buy more, then they have they're doing it on what's called margin, which means they're borrowing to buy more. And when the stock market drops, they have to put in more money, or their positions are going to be sold off. Well, you may or may not have something that's liquid. You may or may not have something that the market wants, but you'll always be able to sell your gold contracts because they want you to think that that's gold. It's not. It's just a contract. But what you'll see is the spot market go down and the physical market go up at the same time. We saw that in 2008, and I don't know that I can pull that chart, but I can try if you guys want me to. I mean, why not? We're kind of doing all this other stuff. Let's see. Where would I find that? Hold on. Let's see if I can. I hate it when I lose the mouse. It's so annoying. Are you touching anything? Oh, there it is. All right, let's see. Open. Okay, let me go to. Oh, I don't know that I can take all of this time, but how about I just pull that chart for the next time, because it's going to take me a minute to find it. Okay, let me just pull it. On spot versus coins versus, I know I had that even with gold stocks. And you'll see what happens. So yeah, you'll see the spot market go down, but that may or may not really indicate what's happening in the physical market. And frequently when there is a big scare, what happens is that premium grows because there's so much greater demand than there is supply. But when the SHTF really does indeed truly hit the fan, you see this fly. This will go up in terms of this stuff very rapidly.
And just to kind of clarify, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just to kind of clarify, you're saying that is separate from the spot market.
Oh yeah, the physical only market. Okay. That's why I show you that difference pretty regularly.
Right.
Because they can create as much physical, as much paper, gold, and silver as they want to, cheaply and without any level of ramification, right? Whereas in the physical market, there is a finite amount. And then the pre-33 physical market, there's even less. That's less than 2% of the total gold market. So it's a very different market. The bullion market, like I have an American Eagle here, that kind of sorta straddles both worlds, where it is guided by the spot market, but that's really where you see your premiums grow, even if it is still kind of sort of attached to the spot market. However, we will see a time when even that decouples from the spot market. So we'll be taking a look at that next week. I'll put that on there, and we'll set that up for like the first thing. And Ren Pixie asks, Can gold bullion be melted down and cast into wedding rings to preserve the gold from confiscation? Yeah. Why not? If it's a piece of art, then you have some other options. But why not just buy it in a form that's that way and then you don't have to worry about it? But if you're a jeweler, if you're a dentist, I mean, there's all different kinds of gold. And yeah, that can be melted down, and at its base, gold and silver are always monetary at its base regardless of the form. So yeah, you can turn it into a collectible, and then that could help against confiscation. And Richie Luxury asks, they can't confiscate, what makes you think they can confiscate gold? Oh, they can't confiscate guns. That's a gun. Okay, what makes you think they can confiscate gold? Well, you know, I've had a lot of people say that to me, and I guess you have to pick your battles. And they can confiscate your guns. You can hide them. They can confiscate your gold. You can hide it. The problem is using it in the normal marketplace, right? What I'm actually doing is executing a strategy. And that was what my Uncle Al was showing me all those years ago when it was illegal to hold more than 5 ounces of gold in any other form than the pre-33. And the coins were not slabbed at that time, right? So he had safes, 2 safes packed with this. But this was legal to own any amount of, and you could use it in the normal marketplace. You could convert it into anything else that you wanted to. If you have this, the bullion, and they confiscate it, the only place you can take it is black market or in your community where they know you and they trust you. And so for me, because I'm executing a strategy, and I know that one of the things that's critical is that I want on the other side of this mess to be in a better position than I was going into it. And that means that when they do that overnight revaluation and I see that cup formation in those income producing assets, my intention is to convert this into those income producing assets. Maybe I'll do it direct, depends on what it is and who I'm dealing with, or maybe I'll have to convert it into the fiat. Either way, if you have to go through the black market, you're probably not going to get full value for it because there's risk. So you have to do whatever it is that you're comfortable doing, and you have to pick your battles. But since I already know how severely undervalued this is, why would I pick that battle? And the other thing is, you know, it's life. Do I really want to get into a gunfight with the army? I don't think so. I don't think I want to get into a gunfight with anybody. You know, and if somebody comes to my house and they're hungry, I'm going to feed them. I'm not going to shoot them. So you pick your battles, Richie, and you do whatever is in your heart to do. But, you know, if I can do something that doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong, even if it costs me a little bit more of this garbage, which I know how much value I put in this. And quite honestly, I probably think differently about money than maybe anybody else that you know because of where I live my life. And I put a whole lot less value in that. I put a whole lot more value in this, plus the food, water, energy, security, that barterability piece, the wealth preservation, and community. I definitely put a tremendous amount of value in community, as well as shelter. So I just want to make it easy. It's easier to stay within the letter of the law. I can do that easy. Why wouldn't I? And then it doesn't matter whether I'm right or I'm wrong. You do bullion, you got to hope you're right. And maybe you will be, and maybe you won't be. I don't know. And Michelle Hale asks, Lynette, when looking at the U.S. debt clock, the interest on debt has surpassed the national defense budget as of last week. What impact is this showing us? What it's really showing us is that we are compounding interest, and we have been for a very long time. Never is the goal to pay off the debts, because when you pay off the debts, like we just watched the purchasing power go up, that was because there was less debt out there, but it really didn't help the general public. It just made it look like it. So what that shows us is we ain't ever getting out of debt, and it's going to get worse and worse. And as Powell does his pivot and drops those rates down and debt grows even higher, it means that we're all more vulnerable. And what it also means is that the value of gold continues to go up. And we will see that when it's time for us to regain, time for them rather, to regain that confidence. And I'm seeing Arthur over here getting ahead of himself and collecting all the money that I shoot out here. Because that always takes a minute.
Yeah, we usually play 50,000 bill pickup after this stream.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah, it's a fun game. And my wife's idea one. Typically, fractional gold has high premiums. Do you feel that purchasing fractional gold is a good investment if you can't necessarily afford 1 ounce? Yes, I do. This is really the importance of understanding the true fundamental value of any asset or any instrument. And this is also the point in putting your goals first. What am I trying to accomplish? Because if I have an ounce of gold, but all I need is this much, this will run at a premium. Of course it will. But I'm going to have to cut this apart, right? So what I want is I want the full spectrum of sizes. And again, I'll go back to gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base. So you always see me wearing jewelry, and some of it is costume, because if I like it, I like it. But a lot of it has gold to it. And if I needed to take this off to pay for something that would save our lives, what do I care? It's just a thing, right? So the reason why you see me wearing gold and silver is to prove the point and to push the point that gold and silver in any form. Do you think I would care at all about clipping off a piece of this chopstick? No, I wouldn't. Do you think I would care at all about clipping off a piece of this bracelet? No, I wouldn't. But it's harder to clip off a piece of a coin. So I do like all the different sizes that there are in both gold and silver, because it's easier to put 2 dimes together than to break a quarter in half. And you're buying it so far below fundamental value, it doesn't matter. Establish your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, and then allow those goals to drive how you position your wealth.
I just want to make sure we answered that correctly, Lynette. So kind of what you're saying there is that if I don't have a lot of money, right, and I still want to have that wealth preservation aspect that comes with gold, you're saying just get in, right? Just kind of keep getting in with whatever you can, as much as you can, when you can. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, absolutely. And Zoltan Varadi asks, in a free, unhampered market economy, an upward sloping yield curve cannot be sustained because it would set in place an arbitrage between short and long-term securities. Could I explain this? Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of arbitrage that's going on, which is taking advantage of the difference between this or that. But actually, when you're speaking specifically to the yield curve, right, and let's just kind of use this to create the yield curve. The longer you have to hold it, the thought processes, the longer you have to hold it, the more you should be paid for it. Because quite honestly, when they set up the system, which you or I don't understand, but bankers and all of that do, is that the value of the currency is going down. So this needs to compensate you. When you have so what he's asking on that question is, then why not borrow short at lower interest rates and invest long to get that pickup in interest and get the pickup between the two? Except that a lot of banks have done that, right? They lend short term, here's a better example. Insurance companies, right? You go in, you have a fixed rate annuity, and they're promising to pay you a certain amount at a certain period long term out of the future. Well, they've got to lock in rates to guarantee that they can afford that. But when the central banks jury-rig and play with the rates to push them down, now these insurance companies are going to have an awful hard time meeting that promise to you. And remember, there are no guarantees. It's only the claims paying ability of, I don't know that I'm doing a good job on this. I don't feel like I am. All right, let me just kind of take 3 deep breaths because okay. An arbitrage takes place because there's a difference between this, and this is higher than that. So an upwardly sloping yield curve, frankly, it makes sense because you're taking more risk when you're going long term, and they have to compensate you for that risk. And part of that is the purchasing power risk, which is going down. When we have an inverted yield curve like we do right now, although the 30-year is higher at the moment than the 2-year, but the 10-year isn't. The 10-year is lower than the 2-year. They're paying you more for holding something short term than there are long term. Why would you lock in a long-term interest? So what he's talking about, it's that the interest is higher here, so you can borrow short-term, lower interest rates and invest it long-term to get that pickup in difference. But I really kind of disagree with you because the longer term, you're getting paid, you're supposed to get paid for taking that risk. You haven't been getting paid for taking that risk since 2009. And I don't know if I did a good job on this, so I'm going to put that down to see if I can do it and actually show you more examples of arbitrage, because I don't think I did a good job with that. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, but I'll do it. I'll do it and make it more visual so that you guys can see it. And thank you, Zoltan, because I like those questions. And if you have them, lots of other people do. Lynette, what about all the talks about Jasara? A friend won't buy gold because she is counting on a windfall from Jasara. What is that? Okay. There are some people that think that there will be Jasara, these entities that come down and make all of the debt disappear and declare a full debt jubilee. And therefore, gold and silver have no value. I personally am not in that camp. There is no historic precedence for that. And while the banks live in a safe harbor and maybe government's debts will get written off, history shows us that individual debts will not. Now, history also shows us that gold and silver are used in every single sector of the global market. So they have the broadest base of utility and therefore the broadest market base. I think they're also talking about the gold and silver being thrown out in the street. I mean, that's hopium, and I don't usually do things on hopium. My choices are typically on data and history. What really is most likely the next outcome. And since I have over 4,800 examples of what happens when this stuff goes away, that is what I choose to put my possessions in, right? Physical gold, physical silver, and food, water, energy security, because I really don't think that there's going to be a magic entity that comes down and says, okay, starting over, no pain for anybody, no wealth transfer. Everything is just going to be hunky-dory and fine. I just, that's hopium to me. So I'm not really making fun because everybody gets to do what they want. But let's say that you have all that hopium and therefore you've accumulated a lot of debt because you think there's going to be a jubilee and that debt is going to just magically disappear. Why not have some gold so that if that doesn't happen, you can pay that debt off? Now, if it's variable rate debt, good luck to you because it ain't going to happen. Just like the other question on the interest rates, right? And how the interest payment is above defense spending. Interest payments are going to be above all spending, not just defense, but also, I don't know, Social Security, Medicare, all of those government programs. So I would not be counting on it, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. If you have gold and silver, again, it doesn't matter whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. If you're absolutely counting on Jacera, you better be right. I prefer to do things that don't matter whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. And Teaspoon P asks, how much more is pre-33 gold compared to bullion monetarily? I would have to call and get that answered, so I can't answer that off the top of my head because it depends. And it depends on what you're looking at. This is just a raw pre-33 coin. This is going to be pretty close to your bullion. When you get into this, that it goes to quality and rarity, and there's going to be a difference because there's a whole lot more of these than there are of these, and there are a whole lot more of this bullion than there are of this. So you can call us, and then we can answer those questions, but I think you always get kind of more or less what you pay for. There are different functions that all of these occur. That's why I'm always talking about establishing your goals first, and then it's the right tool for the job. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that because I really, truthfully, I have no idea. But you can call us 833-GLD-ZANG, or you can click that link, set up a time to talk to one of our strategy specialists, and they can answer that question because they'll have that information. And talk with Tiffany. After a correction, when is the best time to pay off a mortgage? The best time to pay off the mortgage is going to be when they do that very first overnight revaluation. Because what you'll see is, and I can't tell you what this is going to be actually until it happens. I don't know what that coverage ratio is going to be. On a one-to-one basis, this little 1 ounce of gold is worth somewhere more than 40 grand, whatever that is. But that's on a one-to-one basis. Is it going to be 10 to 1, 2 to 1? I have no idea, and nobody will. But the best time to pay off that mortgage is when they do that first overnight revaluation, and something like in Venezuela went up 3,500%. You might only need this itty-bitty piece of gold to pay off that fixed rate mortgage. I'll let you know when I'm doing it, and you do whatever you want, but you might want to do it at the same time that I'm doing it, and I promise I will let you know. And Frank Tequilo asks, Lynette, if they did a gold or silver compensation, would you hand your gold or silver in? No. No, because I know what their intention is, which is to, okay, they'll pay you a premium. And I do think that's what it's going to look like, because most of the gold is held in IRAs, right? So the depository is not going to say, oh, no, we're going to protect our depositors more than the government if the government says they're taking it. But they don't want pushback. So let's say spot's at $3,000 an ounce when that happens. More than likely, they'll say, okay, we're going to take your gold because it's your patriotic duty. You got to do it for the government, or not for the government, for the country. It's your patriotic duty. But because we're so fabulous, we're going to pay you $4,000 an ounce. Most people believing the spot market in Wall Street, Why? I don't know. But how many times can you be lied to when you do not know the truth? Most people would probably go, look at how great they are. Okay, gold is only worth $3,000 and they're gonna pay me for rock and roll hoochie coo, and they do a big sweep of the IRAs and get a whole bunch of gold, and people would not be any the wiser. And then they do the revaluation after they get all of the gold that they think they're going to get. So no, I would not turn it in, because this I can hold legally no matter what they do. And the time for me to convert it is when I want to convert it either to pay off my fixed rate debt or to convert it to pay my property taxes, right? That's a great thing for fractional gold. Or to convert it into this garbage, to convert it into income producing assets. Boom, boom, boom. Not to hold on to, because at that point, quite honestly, everybody's going to be well aware that we're in hyperinflation and the currency is losing value very, very rapidly. So no, I'm not going to hold them. No. But I'm also not buying it in a way that would put me in jeopardy and would make it impossible for me to use it in the regular, normal marketplace. And Shiny Man asks, Lynette, do you see any place for usability investment in other precious metals aside from gold and silver, such as platinum? Well, platinum is more rare than gold or silver, but it is also used more in industry. And so for me, I focus on the monetary metals, which are gold and silver, not really industrial metals like copper or platinum. But I do own platinum because a lot of the antique pieces that you see me wear are made of platinum. And I have actually in the past owned some platinum coins. And there was a time certainly when platinum spot was higher than the gold spot, which isn't the way that it is right now. But my personal focus, because this is monetary, that's what the problem is, I go for the monetary metals. And William McClear asks, question, I've been buying loads of gold jewelry, watches, rings, and also some gold coins. Am I spending my money wisely? Several pieces under spot. I mean, honest to goodness, William, gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base. You know, I always have this tray of all of these, spoons and all that stuff. You see me wear it, the gold and the silver. You can, one of the things that I tell people is if you go to, say, like an antique mall and you find who is a dealer that works a lot in sterling silver or gold, and you call them up and you say, hey, I'll pay you spot, or I'll pay something for any of your broken stuff. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that you shouldn't do that. You should accumulate it in all different ways that you can. Just accumulate it. The more you have, no matter what it is, no matter what the condition or shape is, it's monetary at its base. So, you're not wasting your money. You're not wasting your money at all. I don't know how to pronounce this. What are some examples of income-producing assets you'd buy? Okay, so we all are looking at what's happening in the commercial real estate market. So we're going to have enough time to see what corporations are going to survive, and therefore, is there a back to the office kind of thing going on? If there is, there might be some strategy in buying some commercial real estate. But I'm also looking at what governments, their income producing assets. And a lot of times, and I just showed you this recently, I think in Italy, the government was selling a palace, right? But we've also seen in Greece where they sold the harbor. So governments, both local and federal, will need to raise capital, and they do so by selling off, parking lots. that are near strategically located, I don't know, government senate houses or judicial systems or police stations. I'm going to be looking to do that. I'm also, I don't mind owning an essential police station because what they do is they sell it and they lease it right back. Toll roads, right? Now, some of them, like in California, are privately owned. We don't know how much leverage is on there, but you might want to own a toll road. You might see all of those apartment buildings that are being built out. You might want to own an apartment building. You might want to own air rights or water rights or mineral rights. So there are a number of different income producing assets, and I'll put that on the list. It definitely won't be, but I'll do one on income producing assets so you get a handle on what I'm thinking. Okay. Is there any way to open up a bank account in an upcoming BRICS nation territory? I don't know. What I can tell you is I was lucky enough to get to go to college in England for a bit, and I was able to open up a Barclays. I had a Barclays bank account there before I went. And I certainly know you can have a Swiss bank account. So there probably is a way to open a foreign bank account. But I can tell you banking even in this country is getting quite challenging. So I don't know how to answer that question, but I can look at that and see what I can find out. Was that it?
That was the last question, but guys, I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Go ahead and ask the question again. I think there was one person I missed, which was Bo. I'm so sorry if I missed your question. I don't see it in the chat anymore, so if you want to ask it again, I see you said that you're asking Lynette a question. If you drop it in the chat, I will be able to get her to answer that for you. But otherwise, that is the end of the questions for today, so I want to make sure we answer all of them.
Okay, and keep in mind that I will be at Peak Prosperity. So
yes.
And what are the dates of that?
12th through the 5th. Well,
that's when we're
going.
That's when we're leaving, right?
I believe the event is on the 7th. No, it's not that. It's the.
Watch our socials. We'll let you know.
We'll be dropping it.
But if any of you guys are planning on being there, I hope that you'll come and let me know that you heard us on the live and that you participate in the live. The other thing is I'm gonna take these guys down because they haven't seen the amphitheater that we have in the new building. And we're already in our temporary location there, and I want to show them and see when we can start not just doing this live like this, but actually having a live studio audience. Maybe we can do that sooner than later. Thank you, Arthur. Okay, so we're starting on September 13th and ending on September 15th. You can go online and maybe we can put the link to so you can get your tickets if you don't have one.
Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward. I love doing these live events because I get to meet people that I don't normally get to meet. But then again, when we start doing them and we have a live audience and you're going to be in the Phoenix area, to come in and sit in the audience would be fantastic. So we're not quite ready for that yet, but I'm going to have these guys check that out and see maybe we can start even before we're in our permanent
we'll work on something.
Space.
We'll work on something to get something. Hope you guys are interested in seeing Lynette live. That would be kind of cool.
That would be so cool.
Be super cool
I know. I'm
here.
so excited about
cool.
getting to do that. So you can let us know in the chat too.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
If that's it, then that's
one more.
We do have one more.
One
okay.
more question from Christopher.
Okay.
It looks like you just jumped in, so I want to make sure we get this for
okay.
you. The question is this: would it be better to convert my silver into bars? Silver bars into gold eagles? Would it be better to convert my silver bars into gold eagles? I also gave silver type 1 I also have silver type 1 eagles, but I want to keep those. Basically, should be converting silver bars into silver eagles. That is the question.
So, personally, I mean, you're looking at this bracelet, right? And then this eagle, gold eagle, this is it for the bullion that I own. That's it. So, but I'm going to say that what you really need to do is call us so you can get a strategy laid out. You're going to put your goals first, and then whatever it is that you do needs to support those goals. If you have large bars, like 10-ounce bars, I mean, I don't know. You could have a 1-ounce bar. Adam just about lost his today because I brought out some little silver bars. Gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base. So large bars, they need to be converted because it's kind of hard to put one of those in your pocket and walk around in an inconspicuous way. Your pants will probably fall down. So you do, but what you convert it into, you really need to establish what you're trying to accomplish first and then make sure that it's the right tool for the job. So, well, this has been great, you guys, and don't forget to send your questions to questions@LynetteZang.com because we're gathering those and answering those too. Emerald is not here, but the answer is yes. And until next week, until next we meet, look at this. Together we are making a difference. And until then, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.